Record Residential, the gallery house designed by Ogrydziak Prillinger architects in San Francisco's South Park neighborhood. Let's talk first about one of the project's most striking elements, its facade, and how it contrasts with the interior.
So the thing was, we had this idea that we could make effectively an organic bay window. The interior of the project is effectively a Cartesian matrix, and so geometrically it's rational, and we tried to have it be relentless, I guess you would say, inside. So it's really this kind of abstract cage, if you will. And then on the side of the park, what we were excited about was having this kind of liminal zone where there would be a kind of a loose buffer between that type of space and the much more organic park. And really this idea that it's kind of protective, but it's kind of open, and that it's almost like a loose filter. What it ended up being is almost like the ghosting of a lattice, so that to some extent, rather than having this kind of heavy screen between you, you have the framework, which is it's like a ghosting of this kind of blanket.
And the space is divided between a semi-private gallery space on the first floor and the two living floors above it. Talk about the design decisions that went into both dividing the space, but also letting sort of the gallery flow up into at least the second level of the space.
Mm-hmm. So one of the big criteria was how to create this kind of easy flow of space between the larger open living spaces and the gallery below. And so we get this kind of the entry stair, which just flows up to the kitchen and flows up to the living room and provides a kind of a buffer to the private space above. What's also interesting was the idea that even though it's a 40-foot lot, that we were able to get the program to fit with just 3 floors of living space, which allowed the kind of very generous ceiling heights. I think one of the nice features is that you always can have a sense of tying yourself back to the entry. So if you go to the very farthest element of the house, which is the kind of the bridge at the top of the stairs, there's still a clean view down to the front door, so that there isn't this sense of like, oh, I'm isolated, that you're always within this kind of same continuous spatial envelope. And it's really about this kind of dissolving the idea of floor, 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 that it's kind of all intertwined and intermeshed.
What are some of your favorite design details of the project?
I like the voluptuousness of the facade, and I like the fact that the voluptuousness is rendered with this faceted angularity as a kind of, it offers a relief to the orthogonal sort of system of the house. But I think if I condense that interest into a single artifact in the house, it's probably the sink in the bathroom. This is a very voluptuous object, it's slightly troubling, and it's very simple. And it's inevitable that whenever people see it, they touch it, they put their hands on it, and it's a kind of a entrancing and yet troubling artifact, which is really nice.
What does the owner, a noted collector of contemporary art, love most about her home?
Personally speaking, the volume of the rooms is absolutely remarkable. The height lends itself to seeing a piece of art from a distance that you would never achieve in an ordinary house. I, being an academic, enjoy the library, which is what we were looking forward to. So we have all of our art books, and now they're completely organized. And I do very much enjoy seeing the light come through the stairs and the monitors at the top, which bring in the north-facing light, which is exactly what artists enjoy seeing. And then in the kitchen, we have the entire expanse of the city, as well as my office, which seems to sees the same view. And in the morning, we wake up to the park. So you're actually experiencing the park at a level you would never ordinarily if you had ordinary windows. So these are the things which are riveting.
And finally, Luke, tell us a little about the process of designing such a modern structure in a city whose homes tend to favor the past.
And so the way that we began, I guess 3.5 years ago, was to misread the San Francisco Planning Code, because the San Francisco Planning Code, although the intention is to populate the city with Edwardian bay windows, in fact it's just a sort of a mathematical description of space. And so if you pretend you're a scientist instead of an architect or a historian, it's just this kind of purely abstract mathematical opportunity. And we were sort of shocked actually to learn that there's no requirement for the bay window to even align vertically, that it can be sinuous, it can move through space.